The presidency released a documentary this week on the human side of President Buhari, in which we had people like Vice President tell us how Mr. President cracks great jokes and manages to keep a straight face while telling it. We also had Kaduna Governor Nasir El-Rufai share how the president's jokes makes them roll on the floor in his sitting room, laughing in delight. Well, newsflash, we don't care about the president's little jokes. Nigerians did not go to the polls in 2015 to elect a comedian-in-chief or a clown-in-chief. The human side of the president Nigerians want to see is a competent side, a side that will solve the terrible fuel scarcity and end the blame game once and for all. The human side we want to see is a creative side that will find quick solutions to stem the unemployment time bomb. Let me tell you a story. When President Buhari took office in 2015, there were 6 million unemployed Nigerians, according to the NBS. Now, that number of unemployed Nigerians is 16 million. The human side we want to see is a sensitive side that will empathize with Nigerians who are daily oppressed by a ruthless police SARS. But not just empathy, action. Do something about it, Mr. President. The human side Nigerians want to see is the famed incorruptible side that will not apply deodorant to stinking allegations of corruption among members of the president's inner circle, like his controversial Attorney General, Abubakar Malami. The human side we want to see is a decisive side to put his chaotic administration in order and end the infighting and fratricide. We are sick and tired of hearing today that the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources is fighting with the NNPC GMD, and then tomorrow we hear that the EFCC chairman is fighting with the DG of the DSS, and in all of this, the president is blissfully immobile. The human side Nigerians want is the lawful side that respects our constitution and respects other arms of government, not the side that refuses to obey valid court judgments like the order to release Shia's leader Ibrahim Zakzaki, and definitely not the side that defies a valid Senate decision rejecting the president's nominee for EFCC chairman, Ibrahim Magu. The human side we want to see is the opposite of this slack president who has failed to appoint chairmen and members of federal boards and parastatals almost 3 years after taking office, effectively paralyzing activities in these agencies. The human side we want to see is the transparent side, a president who will patiently explain to Nigerians and not look down his nose at us for wanting to know what sickness he suffers from that warranted his 150 days on medical vacation this year alone. The human side of the president Nigerians deserve is the fair, broad-minded, nationalistic one, not President Buhari's divisive, persistently one-sided, chauvinistic utterances, actions, and appointments. That's the human side that we want to see. Everything else is forgettable, including President Buhari's tired, boring jokes. And that's my memo. On the Factor Deep Dive today, I spoke with Chude Jideonwo, the founder of Statecraft. That's a company which has successfully handled communication for the last 2 winning presidential campaigns in Nigeria. Chude is the author most recently of How to Win Elections in Africa. He caused a stir back in May this year when he publicly turned away from his most recent client, President Muhammad Buhari, in a widely syndicated article. He described the president's legacy in that article as one of disappointment, shame, sadness, and ineptitude, saying it broke his heart. I asked him if he still stood by that impression.
It looks like Nigeria's economy is ending strong in 2017. External reserves, the economy is out of recession, our ratings are strong internationally. So maybe I was a bit too early. To be honest, I spent the past 1 month thinking, was I too hasty in judging Buhari, considering how the economy has bounced back? And considering that some of my mentors had told me at that time to calm down, to wait till the end of 2017. I'm like, no. But that doesn't mean that I'm changing my mind about what I said. It doesn't mean that if I end 2018 if I end this year, maybe by January, I feel like, okay, no, after the sum of it, I'm still not impressed that I'm not retracting what I said. I'm just saying that maybe I was too hasty. But I said what I said. I believed what I said at that time, which was, I think, in June. He was failing badly on security, on the economy, on corruption, and he was outside of the country. So first and foremost, the fact that he was outside of the country and he has still not told Nigerians what ails him is disappointing. It's shameful. It's a disgrace. That one is not something that the economy is going to wipe out. At a time when we expected some kind of moral leadership from him, he did not exhibit that moral strength of character. Yeah? So those things don't change.
I reminded Chude that he had said shortly after President Buhari's victory in 2015 that God had kept his promise to change Nigeria, something which he said he heard in a place of prayer 2 years before the elections. Take a listen to how he responded.
Me and my friends went into this place of prayer. No, as I always say, God didn't say that about Muhammadu Buhari. So I remember that I said that very clearly. But then when this election happened, he just looked to me like this was an answer to the prayer. And I didn't say anywhere that God said Buhari was the one that kept the promise. I said that in prayer, somebody said, God said we're going to change Nigeria, which is a prophecy that many Christians across Nigeria have. So was Buhari the person that God said? I don't know. I didn't say so. Is he the person? I don't know. I didn't say so.
But you said God has kept his promise 2 years later.
To change Nigeria.
Yes, and but so if this is not a change.
So the problem is that I think that people, I realize that the reason why there's a lot of criticism is because people don't, even though I say what I mean clearly, people still either don't read what I say. And so I have said often, that, and before the elections, that PDP losing the elections in 2015 is not about Buhari. I said it in an article in the New African on the week of the elections, that what is more important is that this government goes, that there is a change from this ruling party to another party. And that if that happens, then Nigeria will begin its progress towards success. I said that clearly. And I said, even if Buhari ends up failing, it would not change the material fact that removing the PDP from government is an important milestone. So when people, I want to cry out of frustration. I'm like, there is no dissonance. People say, you are supporting an old man, but you have always been working for the future hours for young men. I'm like, you reviewed my book. I said it in 2011 that what the country needs is not younger men. What the country needs is people with new ideas. So, this contradiction people are searching for doesn't exist. When I said that God has kept his promise, what I meant was that God had kept his promise to change the government from the PDP, and God had kept his promise for voters' voices to be heard. People had been crying for. I wrote down when I was in law school in 2007 that Nigeria would not make significant progress, and it's on my blog. My blog is still open to the public unless the PDP was defeated. And I'm like, I don't care who defeats the PDP, but first defeat it, so we can make this a competitive democracy. Everybody knows that anybody can run for office and anybody can defeat an incumbent. And so when I said that God had answered that prayer, I was saying it in respect of the fact that whoever it was, whether it was Buhari, whether it was Ayama Tanga, anybody who could defeat an incumbent president was helping Nigeria continue its path towards eventual change. And people who think that countries change in a period of 4 years, I find it very difficult to have an argument with those kinds of people.
How was his company able to switch from working for Jonathan in 2011 and then working for President Buhari 4 years later? It seemed like two extreme positions. Was it just a job for them? Chude says no. It's all about nation building for him, he said. Then he offered this explanation.
People ask me what happened, and I'm like, oh, what happened? Have you been paying attention to my work? From the first year of the year after Jonathan became president, I was on the streets for Occupy Nigeria, And once under Jonathan's care, we lost 276 girls. I made it abundantly clear, even before there was an APC, even before Buhari broke his promise and said he was going to run again, even before anybody had talked to me about running a campaign, I had said it in April 2014, that the person who acts so irresponsibly over the matter of 276 missing girls doesn't deserve to be president. So where's the extremity? It's not that I woke up in December 2014 and said, I'm now against President Jonathan because of what he had done with the missing girls. I said it in April and in May and in June, and all these articles And all these statements are publicly available. Like they are in video. Like I always say, nobody will ever find. And maybe somebody will find, but I've been looking for. And I haven't found if anywhere where I have done a thing that stands against something I said I wasn't going to do. And of course, people have the right to change their minds at any time. But in my own case, I've been so lucky because of the way that I measure my words before I speak, that you will find it difficult to find me going against.
In his book, How to Win Elections in Africa, Chude dismissed the clamor for youth parties in Nigeria. He described them as faulty and problematic. So I asked him what he thought of the Not Too Young to Run movement. I also asked him which candidate he's backing for 2019. He says Nigerians should expect fresh faces and the kinds of faces that they have long been desperate for.
I wrote an article called Not Too Young to Run and So What? Which again is one of those things that people cannot get, because on the one hand, the Future Project, which is one of the organizations I founded, which is concerned with young people, galvanizing people, is supporting the Not Too Young to Run bill's communication nationwide. But I, as a person, I have a more nuanced view about it, which is that it's great to form youth parties. It's not anything that lets people get involved in the political process is a positive thing. Yeah, so to that extent, I cannot not support Not Too Young to Run. Also, what Samson has done, he has built a global movement, because across the world, people are replicating Not Too Young to Run. So, as a Nigerian, I'm also incredibly proud of the fact that this national movement has become a global movement. Where I diverge from people, and this is not even an argument Samson is making, because Samson is a very bright human being, is that this is not necessarily a panacea for bad governance in Nigeria. That's not the solution to bad governance. It's a useful galvanizing tool for young people. It's like saying women should get into government. Yes, for purposes of equity, for purposes of diversity, for purposes of inclusiveness, for purposes of fairness. We need more women in politics. But it is not as if more women in politics will suddenly make politics better or produce good governance. Because there are bad women politicians, there are good women politicians, there are bad women leaders, there are good women leaders. So, as always, I'm trying to introduce some nuance into the conversation, maybe pointlessly, but that, look, it is, by all standards of fairness, the laws that stop young people above 30 from running for governance make no sense. They are not fair. They are not logical. However, if we are thinking that once we get everybody into government, then our governance is going to change, I don't think we were present when Orji Kalu was leading Abia State. I don't think we were present when Dimeji Bankole was leading the House of Representatives.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as someone who has correctly backed winners in the last two presidential elections in Nigeria,
I love that.
Yeah. Where is your instinct tilting towards for 2019?
Nothing. You see, until candidates are declared, I can't make any predictions. And I realize that people, I always deceive myself to assume that I can just share my opinion. But of course, people rightly search for what I say to get clues as to what is happening. Unfortunately, what many people don't know is that you can never really predict what I'm going to do from what I say before I do it, because sometimes I don't know what I'm going to do. So sometimes when I tweet about Atiku Abubakar's candidacy, or when I don't tweet about Atiku Abubakar's candidacy, maybe I tweeted about something, I was talking about something else, and then in the course of that I mentioned Atiku and I didn't mention El-Rufai, and people focused on why didn't he mention El-Rufai? He was working for El-Rufai. So something like El-Rufai even unfollowed me 4 years ago on Twitter. I just thought this is so ridiculous. It is so somehow I would just say my mind, but of course I wouldn't say my mind. Like, I feel like 2000. First, I tweeted my last tweet before I signed out of Twitter a few days ago was that 2018 is going to be very interesting, mostly because people are going to be inspired by the candidates in 2018, and not because of the things people think. I think that Atiku is going to run an inspiring campaign, yeah. But of course, Buhari ran an inspiring campaign too, so that's neither here nor there for Nigerian voters. But I'm not even talking about those old people, part of the staff. I'm talking about fresh faces. The kinds of candidates that people have been praying for, have been begging for, have been desperate for.
Like who?
Like the people that will announce in 2018.
Is there somebody that is there a new brief we should know about that?
It's impossible for Statecraft Inc. to not be involved in Nigerian elections. We've done too much good work. And this is like obvious. Like I've met with a lot of presidential candidates before I left my job as CEO of Statecraft. I've met with almost all but one actually, of the people who will be running for elections in 2018. Who will be announcing candidates unless they meet God on the road to Damascus. I've met so many of them. Those who want to be VP, those who want to be president, those who want to be ETC. I've had conversations. Unfortunately, I can't announce on behalf of somebody else, even if the person is my client or not my client, I can't announce. But in 2018, I know for sure, all that lies that we tell ourselves, well, they are no good candidates, etc. I'm not talking about revolutionary candidacy. I'm not talking about a person running for office who doesn't have campaign offices in 6 states of the country. I'm not talking about Jill Stein, where is Aleppo kind of candidate. I'm talking about people who are ready to fight this battle, who have the profile, the networks, the resist, the structure. And why I'm excited about that is because it's what I've been saying for a long time. But before we get to that space, we first have to pass through the Red Sea. And Buhari is the Red Sea. Buhari, people say, I said, look, people say, yes, it was good for us to have broken the PDP's monopoly. Not because anything is intrinsically wrong with the PDP, even though there's something intrinsically wrong with the PDP, but not necessarily because of that, but because we needed for Nigerians to see that we can vote in anybody we want to vote for. Yeah? And so for me, and I said, if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have known that we could do it. So we needed to do it. And now that has happened, my assumptions have been validated, and we validated in 2018, because now people are coming in, people are bold to say, okay, we can do this. Okay. So nobody's going to have that excuse in 2018.
Your book, 35 short chapters, you talk about everything that you think a candidate that needs to win an election needs to do, and what you think they shouldn't do. For you, if you were to mention the top 3 that non-negotiable, that candidates who want to win elections in Nigeria based on your experience.
Which elections?
In Nigeria, national elections. Right. Based on your experiences in Nigeria and other African countries.
I always say that first and foremost, name recall is important than election. I always say, what is name recall? If I shout your name in the window of Wuse Market, if I say Fayoshe, Wuse Market, and people don't understand that's what Fayoshe is doing. That's what Dino Melaye is doing. When they do all those dramatic things, when Fayoshe is constantly in the news, that's what he's doing. When he runs for office, people should remember his name in Asaba, in Enugu, wherever it is. That's what he wants to do. Yeah. So name recall is important. Even if it's not your name, maybe it's the name of the party that you are running on behalf of, name of your VP, something. Those are practical considerations. Money is important. Yeah, and I said in the book that money is important, but not as important as people think. Yeah, but money is crucial. And this argument about money is so expensive. I'm like, you want to reach 180 million people? Are you going to use your saliva? So the conversation on social media irritates me. Yeah, if I was going to do a business, I'm going to sell beer, and I want to sell beer to 180 million people. I need money. And so, of course, if you want to run for elections in this country, you need money. Yeah, so money is absolutely important. Now, the third thing is a message. Yeah, a message is important. And it has to, I always say that the winning message is always the message that answers the question that young people, that citizens are asking of their nation and of their leaders. If you have a message that is misaligned to what people want, no matter how great your message is, people are not going to listen to you. Now, people often say to me, like, well, but that is how to win elections. What of how good people win elections? I'm like, that's a ridiculous thing. Now, good people and bad people win elections the same way. Good people and bad people run good businesses the same way. Yeah. So this advice is for the world. If you think you're a good person, then take the advice and use it to defeat those that you think are bad people.
All right. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
The entire interview, of course, will be posted in full on this channel. We spoke about other fascinating stuff, including Chude's recent strong equality rights speech for LGBT folks, and whether he has personal ambitions to run for office in future. That's all the time we have on this edition of The Factor. Compliments of the season, and see you next time.